He's waiting for him to give me the sign.
Cue from sign.
Okay, there's the sign. I'd like to call this meeting to order with the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Small agenda, right, but a lot to do. Al, you're first.
Good evening.
Alan, before you begin, let me explain to the board that Chris has the original that will be signed. Every other board member, to make it completely confusing, has the old paperwork from the previous grant, Tomb Restoration 1, let's call it.
Okay.
But it's exactly the same except the names change, so Alan can explain it.
What I'm looking for tonight is for the board to vote to authorize the list that you have in your packet of individuals that need to do certain phases of the grant. For instance, the town coordinator is the procurement officer. I have already been appointed the local project coordinator. The town accountant is listed on there because he deals with the financial aspect of it. We require all those particular people listed on the grant so that the Mass Historical Commission knows who has to do what, and that the town has somebody in those positions to do it. The second thing I need to have you vote is for the chairman to be allowed, to be authorized to sign the application and also sign a contract should an award be given to the town. And then the final vote that I would need is for you to consider putting the CPC request on the annual town meeting for the matching funds for the grant. This is all votes that have to happen so that I can submit the application, which is due on March 8th. And I'm hoping to get it in the mail next week so that they get it in time.
They'll have to be separate ones.
Do we have a copy of the article?
Yes, it's there in your packet.
Okay.
It's an email, but the language is specifically right down the bottom of that email, above John Henshaw's signature. That's the article that Alan is also asking us to adopt so that we can put it in the packet.
Gotcha.
That language, and then we'll type it up and put it.
All right, so those dollar amounts are the correct amounts?
Yes.
80,000 for this.
I will make a motion to authorize the Board of Selectmen with the chairman to sign, to execute a contract with MHC to have the town coordinator oversee and report on procurement, to enter into contracts for project work, prepare progress and completion reports, have the cemetery and park superintendent arrange for grant funding, including the project sign, and have the accountant administer and disperse funds for the project.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Pat?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
That's fun. It might be 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, I think
Well,
you need
I do,
one.
right, this is
Okay.
the set. I wanted to do the warrant after
Yep.
one separately. That's the warrant. I need to read that.
Do you want me to read?
Yeah, why don't you read it now, just
Okay.
do
The warrant article that they have, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $80,250 from the Templeton Community Preservation General Reserve Fund for the restoration of tombs at the historic common burial ground behind the First Church of Templeton. Funding to be contingent upon receipt of a grant from the Massachusetts Historical Commission for this project with a net total of $57,000 in community preservation funds expended following reimbursement by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none. Pat?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
What else? All right, that's it.
Thank you very much. This is actually the full application. So if anybody wants to see it, I will have copies of it.
Evening reading,
once we send it.
So this has to be signed at all these tabs?
No, each one,
Sign it.
sign a date.
Okay.
There's some of them,
Is it all like
Said, have this person do this and this person do this.
Oh,
this
he's got an
is, this
account.
is, you have to put tonight's date on it
Yeah,
By reading.
and sign it. This down here is town clerk.
okay. Got one. Hey,
I made it crystal clear, blue ink or you're dead.
all right.
All right, so this was all,
That's just a sample, last year's.
okay.
Or last
Okay,
half.
is Dan in here yet?
Dan's not here, but is expected shortly.
He's in his office. Yeah. Does, I would assume you want him here for this?
Yes. It's actually his request to be on.
Okay.
Sorry, folks, I didn't think I was on until later.
You just wanted to make a grand entrance.
It's a small agenda.
This is a proposal to seek payroll assistance, payroll processing. There is, as you know, we have to replace the software we currently use for payroll processing, which is City and Town. And there are a number of options that we've looked at. One of them is, of course, Vadar has a payroll package that comes with it. And the cost, I discussed this with Jeff and Fred, and we believed it was excessive for what we would get for it. It was on the order of $11,000 to purchase that package, and essentially it would replace what we have. It would be the same functionality, more or less, replacing what we have for an annual fee of around $11,000.
And we still do all the processing. We paper, checks, ink.
As we do now.
As we do now, producing the checks.
So then we, speaking with Fred, he has some experience dealing with external providers of payroll processing. And one of them that he has experience with is Harper's. I talked with Harper's, I talked with Peoples, and one other, to get an idea of what it might cost the town to move forward with an external payroll processing service. Harper's, so far, is only going to come back with a quote. Estimate, I should say. The estimate, essentially, the cost is based on how many payroll, how many checks are processed each week. It also is based on whether we process checks weekly or bi-weekly. Currently, of course, we process them weekly. So there are some one-time charges, there are some initial charges per week, and then there are charges for the numbers of checks processed per week. And that's the sheet that you're looking at before you. It shows that every time they process, like weekly, there would be a $10 charge. And I gave them detailed reports of the number of checks that we cut for the month of January each week. It ranged from, I think, around 112 to 179. The average was 136, so they used that number as an average. And that will go up or down depending upon how many checks we actually process. This is just for payroll, not for vendor warrants. And then you can see their fees. They have, there's a next day courier fee, so that when they process the checks, they'll get them back to us. Essentially what will happen is, they would come to the town, they would set us up with an interface. We would enter the hourly wages from timesheets, I should say, as we currently do, except instead of putting it into City and Town, we're putting it into this other Harper's software. We would download that to Harper's 48 hours before we want them to deliver the checks to us. They would process the checks, the payroll. They would calculate the payments for state and federal taxes. If we choose, they will even make the payments for us. We have to provide them, of course, the money. But they would make those payments and assume liability such that if the payment is for some reason late because of their failure to pay them, they pay the penalty. With the caution there that it's still Templeton's responsibility to assure that the payments are made on time. So even though they would pay the penalty, it's a black mark against us. So there's a provision. We already use the electronic payment feature for making state and federal payments. Using that same feature, I would have the ability, if we chose to have them pay it instead of me, I would have the ability to monitor when those payments are made online in real time. So it would protect the town. They also included in their price, included in the package for an extra cost, this $2 per, they'll manage the W-2 and 1099 processing at the end of the year. I can't do it for that price myself. I spent more than that on forms this year. And I only did, I don't know, 2,050. And so my bottom line, there's a one-time initial $750 setup charge, and that's to cover the installation of the software, come out and train us how to use it. It's a one-time fee. So based on 136 average paychecks per week, there's a $783 charge per week. I think it costs me more than that now to do it.
Per week or month?
Per month. It says month on the sheet.
Per month, I'm sorry. Per month. It is per month. If one of the other options I looked at doing was to purchase Quicken software. They have a payroll package that you can purchase their software. To purchase their software would be an annual charge of around $5,000 or $6,000, something like that. Then if you want to have these other features, you have to pay extra for them. And it does not include my time or someone's time to actually do the work. So my proposal is to allow the processing, payroll processing, to be outsourced, freeing up the treasurer's time to perform other duties. And as you can expect, that there are many of them that we're trying to get caught up. Even if we do this initially for a period of time, I think that you'll find, though, once we engage in this process, we'll probably want to stay with it. I don't know who we used before Scott changed. I don't know if it was Harper's or ADP or whom it was.
I think it was ADP.
Yeah.
I think we were paying about $18,000 a year.
Yeah. So I think this is very aggressive pricing. I expressed to the sales rep that what my expectations were, and that if he was going to do business with us, would have to have aggressive pricing, and I believe they came back with very aggressive pricing.
Will this include the calculations for vacation days and all of that too?
No, it will not do that. They have that ability. And there's if you look down on the page, it shows no human resource options have been selected. If we select human resource options, then they will provide that. We don't have that performed now externally. I was trying to do a apples to apples, but if we want to add to the cost, we can do that. I have some ideas about setting up some spreadsheet programs that would do that internally for us. We just haven't found the time to put it together, that's all. But I could get a quote to see what that would cost.
Well, it concerns me a little, I'm sorry. No, it concerns me a little just because we just started doing that, and the end result of that is that everybody's on the same page with how much vacation time and how much and I don't want to go backwards with that, that's all.
We won't. What'll happen is the the way that the departments would report their time, their hourly time, and their vacation and sick time, personal time, would not change. It would still be on the same forms that we use. What would happen is, once the accounting or treasurer gets that information, and at the point that they enter it, presently they enter it into the city and town, instead they would enter it into the Harper's interface.
Okay.
So we would still manage our own vacation accrual timing and such, unless we chose to have that outsourced as well.
June?
When do you expect this to begin?
Well, it makes sense to do it at an end of a quarter. And the first end of quarter that we will experience would be March 31st, April 1st. I believe I have enough money for the rest of this year in my expense account to cover this cost. It would require an extra cost in my expense budget for next year to get through the entire year. But I believe I can absorb, it would cost on the order of $3,500 with that one-time charge to get through the remainder of the year, and I have $4,500 left in my budget, something like that.
Is there a way to estimate it if we did a bi-weekly payroll?
Yes. First thing that would happen is the per processing charge would be cut in half. Right? It's not a big savings. But more than that, instead of paying $643 a month, we would be paying half of that, because it's paid per check processed. So there's an opportunity for a good savings, yes.
If most employees chose direct deposit,
Yes.
and were issued just some type of advice rather than a check,
Right.
would that also reduce the cost?
I thought it would. I misinterpreted that.
Okay.
What happens is there is actually an extra 15 cents charge for direct deposit. The reason for that is they have to process all the pays the same anyways.
Yeah.
Then there's an extra step for them for the direct deposit.
Okay.
And they have to print.
An advice.
Yes. So I originally thought that there would be an opportunity for savings there, but it turns out there's not.
So it's bi-weekly that saves the most money?
Yes. I suppose the only option, well, we don't pay stamps for our checks now anyways because we can't distribute them. We don't have to mail them.
How many employees are on direct deposit, roughly, do you know?
Well, they estimated half. I don't think it's quite half.
Okay, I was wondering where they got this 195
They
number
just
from.
estimated.
Okay.
They just estimated half. I think we'll probably have a third.
Peter?
Now, does that include all the employees of the light department too?
Yes, it does. Light, water, and sewer.
Yes, it does, he said.
Okay.
So they would pay their portion.
Now,
Well,
they
we currently
can-
don't bill them for it, but we could. I mean, that's an option.
Any other questions? Yes. Dan?
Yes?
Do they reconcile the checking account that's involved in that, or?
No. That would still be
You
my
would still
job.
have to be reconciled?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Chris?
Yes. Oh,
I
yes.
don't know how this works.
Yeah, just raise your
Public
hand.
speak. So I guess a comment, maybe a couple comments, and maybe a question. So I heard Dan say that there may be like some initial expenses in the beginning to set this up, but I guess what you gotta take into consideration, I don't know how much you get paid to do this, but maybe you figure out how much he's getting paid and to process the payroll, and by
Yes.
letting Harper do it, does it really like balance itself out? So that's my first observation.
Yep.
And then I can personally speak, because I have worked with Hopper as an agency, so I really think it's kind of a no-brainer, honestly, to let them just do it, because, I mean, cost-effectively, over time, I really think that you're gonna reap the benefits. And secondly, I think most people are doing bi-weekly payroll, so I think by making that cost savings, by paying people every other week, a direct deposit, is another way to help. So I guess maybe just my public opinion comment, but Hopper is definitely a very reputable agency. I personally have experienced them, and I think it's great.
If I can respond to your questions in order, if I remember them correctly. First, what's the cost benefit of going to Harper's versus doing it in-house?
That's right.
Probably a wash, I don't know. I'm thinking what it cost me to process the payroll, the number of hours that I spend on it. I don't do it myself. Carol is involved and Kate is involved. But I'm guessing that you know, collectively we probably spend, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 man hours a week on that. Probably, I'm not sure. Maybe it's more or less than that. But, so it's probably a wash as far as that goes. I think the biggest benefit would be to free our time to do the many other things that, you know, each one of us are working more than the hours that we're paid for. So there's a long list of things to do. So even if we use Harper's until we caught up, you know, and I think if we used them, we would come to realize the value and not want to return to what we're currently doing. That was your first question. And then you did express some support for Harper's. What led me to Harper's was our new accountant, Fred Aponte. He has worked with Harper's, and he is pleased with the way it interfaces with Vadar. He's used both of those pieces of software. He says if you use Harper's, he says you're gonna like it. He says it's going to make things a lot easier. A lot of the things we do in the Treasurer's Department, we need to go into the software system that we have, which is currently City and Town, and extract reports for various things. Like first one that comes to mind is we have to make monthly Worcester County retirement reports, and then pay a monthly bill to them, and then we have to do a 6-month one as well. So I asked the question of Harper's if we could do that, and it's available to me online, and they said that if they know that I'm always going to be doing that, they'll set it up so that each month on a certain day, it'll generate that report. So all I need to do is download the report instead of spending, I don't know, probably an hour or so that I do now, because it comes to me in a comma delimited file format, and it doesn't transfer cleanly. So I have to clean it up before I can send it down to, and we have to separate it out currently by percentages, and not everybody pays the same percentage, depends how much time you have. And so when I first sent it down, they said, no, you're going to separate it by these percentages. So that's why I put it into a spreadsheet so I can spread it nicely. And then, Harper's would be able to have that opportunity, ability to do that. The other thing regarding that is when I have generated reports in the past, the image that is on the screen, the total amounts that the current software has, would give us one grand total, and when I print it out, it would show a different number. So I had to figure out, because it's a bug in the program. And we know that there are bugs in the program, it's not anything new. But, so, this would be another opportunity for us not to be dragged down by the existing process. You know, so if we could find a substitute process that would do it for us. And I forgot your last question.
I'm not really sure that I had a ton of questions. It was more comments and observations. But I mean, clearly, he's spending all kinds of time, he's reinventing wheels, and it's crazy. It's like work harder.
Yeah.
I mean, work smarter, not harder.
Thank you.
What was the other thing I did want to say? And I think another huge benefit is that they provide the 1099s and the W-2s, W-4s that's in here. It's like, they push the button, let them do the work. It's so worth it, it really is.
Yep.
So, you have Michael.
Thank you.
What that's worth.
Are we gonna need a server, or
No,
it'll all be installed on the computers we have?
correct. And I did ask a question about how much data they're pushing around and stuff, and they said minimal amount of data exchange. Could do it through email. I'm not sure I want to, but you could. Yeah.
Any other comments? Yes.
Is this a PC product, so that you're doing the inputting yourself, Dan?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
My office will actually gather the paid information from the forms that are currently in use that I think Kate either developed or perhaps Will or somebody developed. And so we'll use that information, and someone will end up inputting that into this program that Harper's is going to provide to us. It's an interface. So it takes all that information so we can verify and confirm that everything is the way it ought to be. And once you put that information in the program, it gets downloaded to Harper's, and in 48 hours, there's a box sitting in my office with checks.
Are you going to try to wait for any other estimates or?
Yes, yeah, oh yes, I want to make sure I'd like to get at least 2 others, you know.
Have you checked with ADP at all, or
I have not,
Ajax?
I have not, but I will do that. Yep, we'll do that.
Just one last question, will you be able to do this remotely if, like, for instance, another ice storm were to hit?
Yes.
And you need to get payroll out, you could log in from any computer, any terminal?
Yes, you can log in from any terminal, and the hurricane that they had over there in Munson, they hit Munson.
The tornado.
The tornado that hit Munson. They were completely shut down. And Harper's sent the guy up from Worcester, they're located in Worcester, sent a guy up, got the information from Munson, the pay stubs and all that stuff. They entered it themselves for Munson, and they weren't a day late on their paychecks. So I thought that was a huge selling feature. I really like the fact too that the Fred seems to be on board with this, and I think Fred's doing a great job for us.
I just wanted to comment, I didn't know if Fred was a fan of Harper's, but they have like 80 towns in Massachusetts. They are the standard, not the gold standard, just the standard in municipal payroll processing in Massachusetts. So they know, yeah, the ins and outs. You know, Massachusetts is quirky compared to, you know, a big state in the Midwest. We have a lot of quirks and state laws you got to comply with, and reporting you have to do, you know, for the Department of Workforce Development and the state legislature and all that. And they just, since they do it so well for so many towns, it takes quite a burden off of the staff, especially off of Dan, off of the accountant, and off of Kate and the support staff. Because we don't have to worry about, did we generate the right report? Did we do it at the right time? Did we get it into the right place? It's you know, we've had to pay fines in the past because we've been late on federal and state tax filings and so on. And that you know, one late charge for filing your monthly withholding tax late with the federal government would pay the price of this for the whole year.
Not quite that, but.
They asked, who was late? You say we were late in the past, filing the forms.
In the past, let me just say in the past, the town was not always accurate and timely in its payments in the past. I'm not going to go
Doesn't
there.
matter.
I'm not going there.
I can read between.
I guess my question is, if you're going to be getting more quotes and you want to start this April 1st, what is the turnaround time for them to get up here and get everything ready for you?
Well, I have requests for quotes out there. I just got to call and make sure they get
Right.
in. If it's going to happen in April, ideally, I would want to turn them on before March 1st.
That's Friday.
That's Friday. That's Friday, yeah. I got the list of things I have to do before March 1st is amazing.
Okay, because we don't meet again until the 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Worst case, the reason it's just ideal to do it at a turnover on,
Yeah, it makes sense.
right. I talked with the sales rep at Harper's. He said that if it turns out that we can wait till the next one, which will be July. Or if we wanted to go in the middle of a period, payroll period, quarter, they would, at their own expense, put the data in. So if we say we started May 1st, hypothetically, May 1st, they would enter all the data from May 1st back to April 1st to give them a complete quarter. We would confirm our numbers, make sure that they're correct, and then they would own responsibility from the beginning of that quarter moving forward. Their issue is, you know, they don't want to be responsible for the work they haven't done.
Right.
You know, but they did say that they would work with me because they have to generate the
W-2s.
well, no, the 941s, which are quarterly
Oh,
reporting.
okay, yep.
So, which I do now. Now, I'm still gonna have to, move money around and make sure that things are provided for, and, but it's gonna free up a lot of the hands-on grunt work. And I can work.
So how are we gonna get this to work if you wanna start March 1st and we don't have the other quotes?
I guess what I wanted to do tonight was to see if there was some, a sense that you might wanna go for this. If not, then, if it's not something you're interested in, then I'll stop, and I'll continue what I'm doing.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea. My concern, I guess, is that at a time when we're cutting budgets, where are we gonna get more money for the expense budget for next year?
For next year, yeah. That's a good question to ask, and I guess that's the reason I'm here, to make sure that you're aware of it.
What do you feel the annual cost is, sorry?
Annual cost is gonna be approximately, it's under $10,000, the estimate.
9675 is what they have on here.
And that'll go up or down depending upon how many checks we cut.
Well, it's more than that.
But was that based on bi-weekly, Dan, or was that based on
Weekly.
Weekly.
No, it's,
So we can cut how much of that off
This
with
is
bi-weekly?
He said plus or minus $11,000, and if you add this and this together,
About
that's
$300 a week.
Yes,
well,
thank you.
783 is the monthly charge.
A month.
I'm sorry, a month, yes,
Right.
right.
So
300 a month.
off of 96.
Oh, so it's,
Right.
it's gonna be more than that.
What's the
No,
matter?
you don't add these together. This is your
I thought
monthly
you had said right around 11,000 the first time, so I was adding these two numbers together.
It's 10,424.36, because there's a 750
Okay.
startup
One time.
charge.
Okay.
One-time charge.
Plus or minus 300 a month, if you went bi-weekly, so that's $3,600.
Now, to do that, though, we have to negotiate that with the unions, right?
With the union contract, yeah.
To go
Bi-weekly.
bi-weekly, which is why I asked it to be quoted, this way initially.
Mhm.
So we have to, that's not something we can do on our own. It has to be negotiated. But there's opportunity for future savings.
Mhm.
Actually, that's a good idea no matter what we do. If we keep it in-house or go out.
They could care less.
I'm surprised Will is not here.
I have talked with Will about this, and he was on board, and he actually came up with the idea that we could back charge the people we do the work for, the enterprises.
Dave, you first.
Yeah, two questions. One, when you go to a bi-weekly, does it change the amount of tax you would be hammering a guy instead of weekly? When you're putting them both into one check, is that gonna jack up his taxes?
It shouldn't. What'll happen is, whatever happens to your weekly paycheck, it gets resolved when you file your income taxes at the end of the year.
I'm just saying, if
So-
that next check that I get that's bi-weekly, would my tax rate be a lot higher for the two
Shouldn't be.
together?
It should not be. The tax rate ought to be the same.
And the other thing was, how much of an increase in your budget would you need to do it? I mean, is there a number that we're looking at?
To do which?
To start this program for next year, how much
Start-
more would you need in your budget?
Well, it looks like $9 grand. However, I haven't fine-toothed combed the previous budget that was handed to me, the previous year's expense. And it looks like there's gonna be a few $1,000s left over in it.
Plus, if you go bi-weekly, you can deduct 3, right?
Say again, I'm sorry?
If you go bi-weekly, you can deduct 3,000 from that price, well,
Yeah,
that's 6 grand.
Yeah, but we can't assume that's gonna happen because that has to be negotiated and it may not be able.
Right.
You'll just tell me either bi-weekly or bi-yearly, tell them to pick one.
Oh, monthly.
Negotiate with English.
Monthly,
Monthly's fine too,
yeah.
You were, no, I don't think you can do that in Massachusetts.
Well, no, sure you can.
Yeah, you can.
But-
There's funny rules.
Well, no, some of our employees, we pay monthly,
We'll make a lot.
We don't get paid.
We don't get paid.
Exactly.
Yes.
When you
Good,
do.
Ian.
Think of all the ink and money you
Look at the money we're saving.
A couple more observations, I guess. One is the biweekly payroll. I mean, more and more companies are actually doing that because it really kind of saves the town because the money's in your pocket for a couple more weeks rather than the bank or your employees. So, I mean, more and more people are doing that. It's not a comfortable situation to be in, but you know what? It is what it is, and most people are doing that these days. The second thing, I think, in order to get your true return on investment on this, we really need to see how much time we're going to save by your employees and Dan sitting there all day and spending overtime. you know, trying to reconfigure and do this and do that. So, I mean, truly, it's, in order to get a true picture of what you're spending, you might be spending $9,000, but how much money are we saving and putting our employees, our town employees, doing things that they should be doing for the town and not wasting time by figuring out employee payroll. I mean, really, those services are in place. Hopper is an awesome agency. I can't say enough about them, and again, it's a no-brainer.
Yes.
Isn't there also a savings with city and towns? Not, do we pay extra or pay anything for their payroll now?
Well, we used to. I'm not sure what the last annual payment was.
We paid a license fee for the year that ends June 30th, and it's not supported after that anyway. Meaning when there's a payroll table update, federal tax withholding update, we're on our own. We really can't run it after June 30th. We have to do something by June 30th, whether it's going to Paychecks or QuickBooks or one of these services, because that becomes defunct.
I was just trying to find some more for his budget.
Yeah, it becomes
He's
defunct.
not paying city and town.
Right,
he's
well,
paying
he
them,
won't be.
so.
No, there'll
Well, it
be
doesn't
no
come out of my
license fee.
budget, I think.
I think it did.
Did it?
It's a specific line in your budget, yeah.
Okay, good. Well,
So,
wonderful.
that's correct. That fee goes away because we're not licensing the
But
software.
we took it all through towards Vader, I think, right? City and town money all went to Vader?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no savings really, but.
In terms of, just a observation, in terms of having to come up with extra money and having savings and et cetera, the only reason that the current system that we have, that we're using right now, the only reason I assert that it is working is because people like Kate and Jeff and myself put in extra hours to make it work. If we worked 40 hours and went home, it wouldn't work.
Are we paying you for those overtime hours?
No, no, it's
They're
already.
on sta-
They do it on their own.
Salary.
I come in, I don't know how many times I've come in here at night or on the weekend and see him in his office.
See, that's not right. That's not.
So we're just trying to fix
being
that.
compensated. So-
And just so you know,
And her too.
he did the payroll
Yes.
last week
I ran
on
the
his own
payroll this
while
week.
Kate
It's
was
not-
away.
Exactly, it's not all me. And we have a team here.
No, but I
I
mean,
hope I made
still,
that
you
Yeah.
have to, and if you are spending overtime, then you should be compensated for that, and that needs to be put into the equation as well. If we were paying them time and a half, what would that be? You know, to be fair? Not that I'm saying we should, I mean, we should be doing other things with our tax dollars, seriously, but that's another story, another
Another, I won't take too much time here. Another thing that we were thinking about, Jeff and Fred and myself, is if my time is freed up not having to deal with the intricacies of the payroll, we can do things like tax title, which we need to do. We can streamline and develop better processes through the office so that whatever has happened in the past won't have to happen again in the future.
The back reconciliations.
The reconciliations, I got drawers full of that we can't even begin to do them until we close out last year's.
I have a dream.
I have a dream.
That someday, if we're receding in the distance, Dan would be doing some financial planning for the town. And a 3-year financial plan, so that we can see the train coming and get off the tracks. And we're not even close to having the time to be able to think about doing that, let alone do it.
Right.
So, I know we want to be as thrifty as possible here, but I think trying to free up Dan and Fred to do that longer-term thinking is an important part of the equation.
So maybe the way we're gonna leave this then would be, if we have a general amount of support, that's okay. If I can get back to you with other quotes before you meet again, when you meet again?
The 11th.
11th?
Yeah, we could start July 1st as opposed to April 1st, too.
Yeah, we could do that.
We could push it off to July 1st.
We could do that.
If we needed to.
Or we could take a vote and put a cap on it,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed.
We could do that too. But we still gotta make sure we're gonna have the money next year. I mean, he says he's got it for the end of this year, for the rest of this 3 months.
Yeah.
But we gotta make sure we'll have it for.
Next year. Yeah.
Next year. $10,000. Give or take.
Hey, it's just another 10,000.
Well, and I don't want to,
It's worth it.
I don't want to push the issue to a point where it's not, where it's uncomfortable. I put it out
No,
there.
I think it's a good idea.
I'll get some better, I'll get some other numbers to compare it against. We'll figure out how to pay for it, and then I'll come back to you with I'll ask you to make a decision.
That sounds good.
I think we should, I'll make a motion that we allow the treasurer to enter into an agreement for payroll processing not to exceed $10,000.
Is 10 going to be enough?
10,000 annually?
An annual 10,000. I would second that.
Other discussion? Did you have
Mark
any-
all that stuff down. If you have a problem, some people don't sit, those goes on the meetings, they don't retire.
Okay, it's all, don't worry, Peter.
Don't worry.
It's in a minute.
It's all on tape recorder.
I just have a question for clarity. Dan said, so do I understand that you've been hired by the town to be our financial analyst, and that's really what you should be doing?
No, he's
Well, I'm
the
the
treasurer.
treasurer,
Treasurer.
but I can do some financial planning for the town.
Okay, awesome. So what do I want to ask? So you said something about you could spend your time doing title searches or?
Tax title.
Okay, so does that tie into like all the people that have like outstanding debt in town that owe the taxes?
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's the
seriously,
treasurer's job.
There's a big chunk of change out there that I thought I saw somewhere like $300,000 back
It's closer to 500,000, and there's another
So shouldn't we be
500,000 penalties and
spending
interest.
our time and investing our time and
That's how
getting the
you
money
pay for it,
that's
right?
truly owed?
Yep.
for
Yeah.
the-
Yeah,
I mean, that speaks volumes.
we're taking the steps to get
That's
there.
Yeah.
volumes, so.
Absolutely.
Again, my first comment was it's a no-brainer. So I appreciate your motion, Julie, thank you.
I didn't plant her, by the way.
No, it really didn't.
And she's never been here in a meeting before, I don't know.
I haven't, but I just have passion because
Thank you.
I'm just like, you know.
Pat?
Because it's over 5,000,
Yeah.
do we need to go to the 3 bids?
Jeff?
Do the
Yeah, no
5.
kidding.
I'll make it under 5 for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
And that way there, because I'm not gonna contract for a whole year now anyways, just to get through the rest of the year. and
Then
then-
I will
Okay.
amend my motion,
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm worried about,
Yeah,
over
make
5.
it under 5.
okay, not to
That'll get me through
exceed
this year, and then we can.
$4,999.
Second.
And it should be much closer to 3.
We're doing the bid for the rest of this year.
Oh, okay.
Because if it's
All right.
over 5,000, we have to have different
Yeah.
rules on how we get
Process.
the processing done.
Perfect.
Under 5, we can just have 3 quotes.
There's a will, there's a way.
There's a way around.
Yep. All right, so the motion has been amended to not more than $4,999.
For the rest of the year.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. Patrick?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And Virginia?
Yes.
Okay.
Next, if I may,
Yep.
this, as you know, we're still struggling to set our tax rates,
Yeah.
and we're very close to being able to do that with,
Will that get all squared away after the special meeting?
will,
Yes.
yeah.
I allege DOR is kind of waiting in the wings for the morning after the special town meeting
Yep.
to certify the vote that we need to take. And then within 48 hours or 72 hours, we'll be able to set a tax rate, as soon as they can turn it around.
Okay.
And there may be a short period of information exchange, because they'll probably ask for something and we'll have to give them something and then they can clarify it. But essentially, yeah, this should be pretty clean. What this is, what you're looking at here is because we were unable to set the tax rate, which means the tax bills could not go out, but our expenditures continue to accrue. So, because we don't have tax revenues coming in, we'll get them eventually, but I don't have them now for operating costs. My cash flow is a cash flow problem. So what I have before you is there's a process that the state uses. It's tax anticipation borrowing. So I'm going to propose that we borrow a sum of money in anticipating that we're going to collect enough money to pay that back and and continue to meet our current obligations and the future obligations through the end of this year. What I have, this is an estimate. That's why it's, well, I wrote it in pencil, but you can't tell that. But, at the top there, it shows that as of March 1st, the borrowing period is going to be March 1st to probably sometime in May, either May 15th or May 30th. And by the way, I'm using our tax advisor, our financial advisor,
Mary County?
Mary Carney, yeah. Who does she work for? First Security.
Southwest?
First Southwest.
It says Southwest.
So I am getting guidance from her. And so we have to include what the outstanding, the amount of money they'll have available for the town as of March 1st. And I have that estimated at about $987,000. That's based on balances that we have in Athol Savings and Fidelity. I'm sorry, Athol Savings and Unibank, where we get our revenues from the tax collections. And then I have to, down below, for the months that I want to borrow, I have to show what I think I'm going to receive. And that's, this $215,000 represents an average of the expenses to date from the various enterprises and light company. They reimburse us for their payroll, not the processing, but the actual amount that the payroll was paid for, and benefits, and anything that they purchase through their vendor warrant. So that's an average there. And then that's the receipt piece. The expenditures are running around $1.1 million a month. And then you can see that there's either a surplus or a deficit in the fourth column, and then that accumulates or diminishes in the fifth column. So, according to this estimate, we're going to need, in order to get through the end of May, we're going to need $1,833,000 to continue to operate. That's in addition to the $98,000 we have now. I'm sorry, $987,000 we have now. So we believe we can borrow this at 2% interest. So the $1.8 million would cost us less than maybe about $7,500. And then there are some administration fees that are added to that, probably a couple $1,000. So they'd be under 10 grand. And we have money set aside with a town meeting, annual town meeting. In the past, it used to be around 15,000, but I'm not sure. I think it's gone up since I was on the advisory board.
Not that much, but it has gone up.
So there would be money set aside for that purpose. So what I'm asking you is if we can, and again, this is going to change slightly depending upon what this week's vendor warrant looks like. I've made an estimate because we got to get through one more week to get us to March 1st. So I made some estimates about what that vendor warrant would be, and this is what I think I'm going to, or numbers like this I'll be submitting to Mary Carney to go out and solicit banks to loan us that money. So my proposal would be if I could ask you to support a number that's less than $2 million. This is 1.83.
So this isn't coming from the state, then? This form is from the state?
The form is from the state.
Loan itself
Those are my
won't be
numbers.
coming from the state.
Those are my numbers.
I don't have a problem supporting this, but
You want better numbers?
Huh?
You want better numbers?
No. What I'm concerned about is sequestration, and if we have another set of 9C cuts, it may... How do we get paid? Do we get paid quarterly from the state?
Yep.
So they'll be taking that off the top of our quarterly payment. So we may have to borrow more. Right.
Yeah. For the third quarter.
Right. Will that impact how much to borrow? Because when you borrow, you just want to do it once.
Yes. I did not consider that. I will ask Mary Carney for advice regarding that, how I should proceed with that. That's a good thing to do, excuse me.
You know, because when we set the tax rate, the bills will all be due May 1st, correct?
Correct.
So gives us.
And not everyone's going to pay right off.
Right away, right.
So I've made adjustments for that.
Right.
And the end of June is when most of our, June 15th, I should say, is when most of our long-term debt
Is due.
So
Right.
that puts us well into, that's 45 days after the bills go out, so
Right.
we should have
Enough to cover that.
substantial revenue for that.
Okay. Well, it is a cash flow issue, and
It is.
if there are more than one factor
Yep.
involving.
What has to happen is, between March and May, we're gonna be borrowing enough money to cover expenses. And then in May 1st, when revenue starts to come in, we have to have enough money to continue to cover our outgoing expenses, plus pay off
This.
this
Right.
bill. And so that's the balance.
Balance.
Right.
But if you say up to, say, 2.2 million, and you don't need it all, you don't borrow it all.
Right.
That's right. We don't want to,
Right.
yes, correct. That is correct.
So when you borrow it, you don't borrow it all at once, you borrow it as you need it, correct? Once it goes out?
On a short-term loan like that, I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Because they're going to want their interest on it.
And is there a fee for early payment?
No. I talked about that with Mary, and she said that we wouldn't engage a bank.
Okay.
Had that kind of fee. The only thing that would make that change would be, the annual report that they're going to be basing our credit rating on is last of 2 years ago. That's the most recent one we have, which was good, or it appeared to be better than it is now.
She had her hand up first.
We can borrow a lot more than that.
I guess I missed the very, which seems like it was the most important part of this whole conversation, but you're looking to borrow $2.2 million, and I heard that you can't set the tax rate until this is resolved, and so what is it? Why are we borrowing $2.2 million?
Right.
And who are you borrowing it from?
Well, it's through the Massachusetts State House Note Program. So they basically back it, but they sell the loan to a bank. A bank will come up and say, if the state guarantees this, it's going to get paid.
Okay.
We have to pay it, but the state will guarantee it.
The town's going to be in debt for $2.2 million at a percentage of whatever, okay.
We think it's going to be 2%,
Okay,
and it's going to be a 90-day note.
90 days.
90 days. And the only reason we have to do this is because we're not collecting tax revenues right now.
Right, so why aren't we collecting tax revenues?
reason
Because I
we're
know we
not
haven't set the rate, which
The
goes
bills
back to
haven't
this.
gone out.
Right.
Huh?
So the bills haven't gone out because we
I
haven't.
know, I'm a
Right.
taxpayer, so I'm still waiting to see that, but why haven't we set the rate because of this? Are we not in compliance?
No, this
No,
is
no, no.
separate.
This is a different
Separate
issue.
deal.
Okay, so I thought I heard you say we couldn't set the tax rate
Because the
because of
mistake was made
this.
last town meeting, that's why we had to set the town rate yet.
The reason why we,
Before, it set the rates and do the right work, that's why we haven't set our rates yet.
no, that's
Figure it out.
The rates aren't set for a different reason.
Okay, all right,
And
okay.
this will allow us to continue to operate as a town until the rate gets set.
Okay,
Because without the rates being set, we can't collect money.
okay.
If we can't collect money, we can't pay payroll, we can't run a town.
Okay,
So
so I
this-
guess I have to ask then, okay, I appreciate that, thank
Yeah.
you, but I have to ask then, why aren't we just setting the rate and collecting the money that's owed to us, so we don't even have to borrow
DOR won't let us.
$2 million
Right.
and pay interest?
We're not allowed to.
There are rules, there are certain rules and requirements that we have to go through and demonstrate to the state before we are allowed to set that tax rate. And we were
Okay.
unable to do that.
Okay,
And there's
because, what, there's not enough money to,
No, it's not about that. It all has to do with reporting. The way our money was reported.
so we're not in compliance?
The way it was voted at last
Basically.
town meeting.
Right.
There's a
We're not compliant, I mean, really, come on, we're not compliant then?
Right.
We're out of
State
compliance.
will be able to file our tax rate.
That would be,
So, again, let me ask, why aren't we compliant then, and why are we borrowing
I can answer
$2.2
that
Go ahead.
million?
point blank. At the May town meeting, the town voted $163,311 from a grant, the Big Ice MEMA grant money,
Yeah.
to be expended in this year, fiscal 13, the year that we're in, for town operations.
Okay.
That was an improper, dare I say it, illegal vote. You cannot do that under state law. So DOR came in and said, you can't do that. You have to go find $163,000 and reverse that transaction that you took at the May annual town meeting.
Okay.
The special town meeting on March 6th will, through a series of votes, reverse that transaction, find the resources by draining some other funds
Okay.
to pay this year's $163,311. That will satisfy the state and the Department of Revenue that that grant money, which had been improperly expended,
Okay.
is now
Being
reversed,
taken care of.
goes back to where it should be,
Okay.
and we set the tax rate and can then collect the taxes.
Okay. So we're being penalized by the state for basically slapping our hands. So I guess, did we resolve that problem, like whoever made that wrongful decision, that,
Huh.
Yeah, we did.
we've learned from that and that won't
well, that's the
happen
reason
again?
for the upcoming town meetings.
Right,
Yeah,
especially,
All right, so 90 days, 2.2 million, and we're gonna be able to pay it all back.
well, I don't know if we need 2.2 million.
Right.
Dan's recommendation was 1.8.
Okay. But I know
But
you put
there
that
are
little
other
buffer in there
factors,
just in
right.
case.
Don't wanna
But it's
have
only
to
for 90 days,
do it a
so it
second
should be
time.
nothing. It should be a nice turnaround and.
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
Okay, all
right.
right. No, I don't know. I don't come to these, so I'm really just looking to be educated and
Yeah,
informed.
Dave?
I think it's important to cap this discussion off with the facts that are the facts. The facts are, the attorneys that we paid to go over the town warrant that we voted on
Yeah.
should have picked up on it, did not pick up on it, and
Okay.
put us in the position we're in now.
Okay.
They should be paying the interest on this loan.
We still have those attorneys?
No.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yes,
All
Charlie.
right, well, I mean, like that, but it's.
I'd like to ask the lady here in the black dress who she is,
Christine Sargent.
and you live here in town?
I do. I live on Mountain View Street.
Oh, okay.
Hill. Yep.
Did you have you had your hand up?
How sure are we that we are going to recoup this $163,000 at the town meeting?
Well,
Very confident. We have a plan that involves not paying into the stabilization fund, which we wanted to do and hope to do, but by reversing this transaction, I admit this is accounting. What we're quibbling about here is accounting, not about the town's finances, but the accounting of the town's finances. By doing this, the $163,000 that goes back onto the town's books flows through and will ultimately come out the back of the process as unexpended free cash. It's just a cash flow and accounting issue that requires all these votes and, my words, I know DOR wouldn't, I'd call them shenanigans. The DOR does not think that's a very good way to describe the process. But, you know, it's like the guy on the tight wire with the bicycle, you know? He makes his way across the high wire on the bicycle and everyone applauds. That's what we're gonna do on March 6th. There'll be actually about 6 votes taken.
Confident that this is going to go through?
Yeah, I'm very confident.
this, if I may say, under Jeff's leadership, Jeff, Fred, and myself have been unraveling this over the past, what, 3 months?
Yeah.
And we've been working on this in our spare time because this is stuff that normally doesn't happen, right? So this is all over the top stuff. And we have unraveled it with and being in touch with the Department of Revenue and lawyers and people that need to know. And and there was a lot of forensic work that took place going into the record books on Fred's part and understanding of the debt and coming up with a solution. After we figured out what the problem was, then we had to find a solution to it, and that was finding out how to fund this. We believe we have a solution that is palatable to the taxpayers. And I think we can, I believe, we can express it in a manner that they can understand and move forward with this. Not let this happen again in the near future, and move on to get the tax rate set.